Today, I want to talk about the future seasons of Hazbin Hotel and their villains. This will not just be about Season 3, though that will be the bulk of the video, but also Seasons 4 and 5 as well. Now, for those who don't know, Hazbin Hotel, at the time of writing this video at least, is renewed for 4 seasons, but VivziePop is hoping for a 5th season, which does seem to be where the main story she set out to tell will finally end. This almost perfectly matches her earlier claim of 4 seasons to tell her story, but that was back when she was aiming for more than 8 episodes a season, leaving basically one extra season worth of story for a 5th and final arc. And she has said the show could continue from there and get more into the lives of other characters once the story is wrapped up. But for today's video, we're going to be breaking down a hint she gave us of where these 5 seasons should go. You see, recently, VivziePop did a long sit-down interview with Collider's Ladies Night, which you can find here on YouTube, and we will link down below. Near the end, she goes into a lot of detail in Season 3, and even her plans beyond that, and we'll also be referencing some other interviews for this video as well. Right now, we have 2 seasons, with Season 1 focusing on the villain of Adam before he died in the big finale battle. Then in Season 2, we got the story of Vox, with Vox being defeated in the finale but not killed. VivziePop explained in this interview that Vox will continue to be an important character in the show until the very end, but that doesn't mean he will be the big villain in Season 3 the way he was in Season 2. Instead, she explained that Vox is going to be more at the mercy of Valentino and Velvet, with Season 2's finale showing Valentino taking over Vox's TV empire. Vox will have to learn what it means to take orders instead of giving them for a period, and VivziePop said she's looking forward to seeing how this plays out with his character, but it leaves the big question of who will actually be the focal villain in Season 3. Now, despite the fact that Seasons 1 and 2 each had a focal villain, they've also had a lot of other villains in the background slowly building themselves up. And because of that, VivziePop said that several characters will be the focus in Season 3, but she gave us a hint which 2 will be the most important with her color schemes for each season. Most fans remember that when Season 1 aired, it was pretty strictly red from start to finish, with Vox of course being the bluest part of the visual design. In Season 2, the teaser showed the red color scheme being invaded by a light blue similar to Vox's screen color, giving the impression that he wasn't just taking over the show, but taking over your TV screen. Now for this interview, VivziePop didn't just explain the color scheme for Season 3, but also Seasons 4 and 5. She did this because she says it's not inherently spoilery, especially with certain twists that will recontextualize who we associate certain colors with. So this video will explore what I think the obvious theories are based on the colors, as well as what the most obvious twists might be with what we know so far. First, after the red color of Season 1 and the blue color of Season 2, Season 3 is going to have purple and green, indicating 2 villains and probably even a conflict between them. You might argue this was already the case with Alastor and Vox in Season 2, with the color scheme not being entirely blue as I said before, and more of it being a battle between the blue and the red, with the red representing Alastor of course, and the blue representing Vox and their battle for control this season. In Season 3, we would get that purple and green representing 2 villains who were competing the same way Alastor and Vox did. Season 4, meanwhile, is going to be one color apparently, being gold or yellow as VivziePop said, and she warned that it doesn't mean heaven necessarily, as there are twists that can reveal this to be something different. Finally, Season 5 will be a return to red, which with the color scheme of the show can be a reference to just about any character, but let's break each down. First, Season 3 has its purple and green color scheme. The purple is the easiest to figure out to me, as Season 2 ended with Charlie finally getting a call back from Lilith. According to VivziePop, Lilith was originally planned to actually be the focal villain for Season 2, hence why she was teased so heavily at the end of Season 1. But they decided to go in a different direction and do a less important part of their story first through Vox, allowing the world itself to expand before starting to zero in on its endgame. Now that that's done, however, Season 3 will focus on Lilith, and VivziePop said it will be a big season about family in general. This would include Charlie's family, of course, which is Lucifer and Lilith, but she also mentions Angel's family as well. This makes sense as well, as the Season 2 finale had Angel deciding to leave the hotel for everyone's safety, as he was under the control of Valentino. The season needs to get into his real family, and VivziePop even said that his sister in heaven, who we have seen in the background of Season 1, is a character we'll actually be meeting soon as well. But in addition to that, we should also be getting to meet his brother Arachnus and his father Henroan. But she also talked about how this will be a season of found family, and I imagine Charlie and Angel will both be turning away from their parents and families, and more so focusing on the family they created together at the hotel, meaning Angel will probably return. With Lilith, Luke could also be a major villain this season, and it would make sense for Lilith to get involved because Luke made her, as that is something we saw at the end of Season 1. But I think Luke might be saved for something much later now. For now, I think it's obvious that the purple simply means Lilith will return to the hotel, there will be friction with her and Lucifer, and the two will probably be competing for Charlie's affections. But that leaves the question of who the green is for. For me personally, my bet is on Alastor himself. While the key color of his design is of course red, his secret color, if you will, is green, as that's the color of his dark magic with its green fire. Something we see in his most dramatic moments, like at the end of season 2 when he was talking about how he would let everyone else die if Rosie doesn't give him what he wants. At the end of season 1, Alastor even sang a song about how once his wings are unclipped, he would be the one pulling all of the strings. And now that he is out of that soul deal with Rosie, meaning he is free, he's the one staying at the hotel still in order to manipulate it. And instead of working towards Rosie's goal, it seems now his goal is to try and get Charlie's power for himself. With that in mind, I think the green and purple competing here may be the same symbolism as the red and blue in season 2, with the red being Alastor as we said, and the blue being Vox, and the finale being about their big battle. In season 3, Alastor would shift to green because it's his independent power now instead of the persona he puts up with Rosie backing him, competing against the purple of Lilith, who at the end of the day is probably going to be a much harder competition for Alastor to go against than Lucifer. That being said, I know that some people will kill me if I don't mention that Zestiel himself also seems to have green power, something we see in the big season 2 finale with all the overlords shooting their energy. Here you can see Zestiel has green energy too, and while it would make sense to include him in this season, Vivziepop did say that season 3 is going to focus strongly on a character who was previously more of an anti-hero and who finally gets to become a villain. In that other interview, she claimed these things without naming the character, but by the end of season 2 it became obvious that this was Alastor. At least that's where my bet is so far. But that leaves the question of seasons 4 and 5. What do their colors represent? First, Vivziepop said season 4 would be yellow or golden, but golden having a much more specific meaning to us with Hazbin Hotel. This is because we generally associate the color gold, and by extension now the color yellow, with heaven in the show. But Vivziepop very specifically talked about how by the time we get to season 4, or sometime within it, we may be thinking of this color as associated with a different character. This doesn't mean the season won't be about heaven in some way or form, however, and by season 4 we really should be getting more into the lore of heaven in particular and what its purpose in creation really is. But that doesn't mean that the villain has to be the speaker of God, Sarah, or any other figure at heaven like Lute who is simply rising up. And instead, I think that villain might be none other than Rosie. We already have some fans speculating in the comments of our videos that the gold color is associated with Rosie, as that's the color her soul deal with Alastor has, with the visual golden, almost angelic looking chains that surround him. With Alastor's own soul deal, his chains are more in line with his color scheme, such as we see with Husk back in season 1. But one character we have seen that does have soul deals with this sort of golden color light is none other than Rosie. This is interesting because as a cannibal, she's supposed to be one of the native species of hell, and you'd think she'd have something closer to what Alastor's power looks like, especially since a lot of his power was originally supposed to come from her. But because of this golden light that Rosie has, a lot of fans assume that she's actually from heaven, maybe some sort of fallen entity from the beginning of hell, or even Lilith herself. But regardless of her actual origins or the reason for this golden light power, I believe that season 4 will be focusing on Rosie and getting to the bottom of it. But if you want more theories on Rosie in future seasons, check out my previous video on the idea that Rosie might be Lilith. Finally, in season 5, the colors are supposed to return to red. These colors can have kind of layered meanings, and part of the return to red is kind of a return to where we started, with the focus in season 1 not just being on the villain Adam, but on hell itself. Adam is dead, of course, so assuming Lute's story isn't stuffed into seasons 3 or 4, I think it's possible her story was moved to the final season. Whatever the big endgame is, she can decide to be a part of it with how tired she is of Heaven's system and her place within it. And with Adam being the villain for season 1 with its red color scheme, a return to red should be a return to a character that is connected to him, like the one who wanted to continue his work of the exterminations, Lute. But I don't think Lute is going to be just manipulating petty things in this final season, as it's probably going to be epic and digging into the big questions of creation in the Hazbin Hotel universe. With that in mind, I think instead, the return to red is an important reminder of the story being about hell. And an important piece of the puzzle of hell to a lot of theorists is the character Rue, who Vivziepop teased early on in Hazbin Hotel's development as an important character that would be appearing much later. A lot of fans assume Rue means the root of all evil, and that as the root of all evil, she will be the most important character as we approach the endgame, the evil above all the other villains. Whatever developments happen along the way, my current theory is that Lute becomes the big bad by aligning herself with the ultimate evil when she doesn't get her way, and decides to overthrow creation for herself. Perhaps being an angel, this is the only way that Rue, or the root of evil, can finally find a way to get into heaven and get their final plan going. But that's just my theory so far based on the interview. What do you guys think? And if you want more information on where these different stories could go, definitely check out my 2 recent videos. First, a video on the Goddess of Good and the Goddess of Evil, and what VivziePop says their story might be in the show in later seasons. And finally, after that, I really want you to check out this hour-long mega mythology breakdown I did for Season 2 of Hazbin Hotel. Here, we get into the crazy real-life mythology and the lore that secret societies have passed down, claiming to be the actual fruit of forbidden knowledge. Trust me, you don't want to miss out this video. And in addition to that, you can also follow us over on our social medias like X and Instagram, where a lot of you guys are watching our shorts more than here on YouTube these days. Links as always will be in the pinned comment down below and at the end of this video, and I'll see you guys next time.